Hi everybody, my name is Joran Oppelt. I'm here at the Meta Center in St. Petersburg, Florida. One of the owners here, and I'm also the minister and founder of the Integral Church, also located here in St. Pete. I am here on behalf of Progressing Spirit today to answer this question. The question today comes to us from John in Adelaide, South Australia. John writes, I am puzzled about prayer in the context of progressive Christianity, which has replaced the interventionist God up there or out there with the God within. The typical conventional church service liturgy invariably includes an intercessions segment. What meaning does this segment have in the context of progressive thinking, and should it be abandoned? That's a great question, John. Those are some great questions, and I'm going to do my best to respond to them from my perspective. I think that the idea that the interventionist God has been replaced should be challenged a bit. I'm an integralist, so I believe that all of these faith traditions and religions exist along a spectrum, that we have the more traditional and conformist and tribal on one end of the spectrum. We have the modern and postmodern expressions of faith kind of in the middle, and we have these progressive and mystical and unitive expressions of faith elsewhere along the spectrum. I believe that we transcend and include as we move through these stages, and so I think that somewhere as a foundation within us, that interventionist God still lives. I also think that one of the big privileges and one of the big responsibilities of religion itself is to carry on these huge stories, these hugely important stories that we've been given. And the interventionist God, as you call it, is a huge part of these stories. And so I don't think that all progressive Christians would say that they've replaced the interventionist God with the God within. I think that most of them are going to describe that God differently, whether we're using different gender language or whether we're describing our experience with that God from our own perspective and a little differently than our neighbor. I think that somewhere in us, that kind of doting and creator Father God, who sometimes tends to be a little wrathful, not only is he still in those big important stories that it's our duty to carry on and pass on to the next generations, but he's also in there a little bit, I think, in ourselves. Whether we are relegating him to the domain of our conscience, or whether we're calling on him instinctively, in traffic when we get cut off, or when we're experiencing pain and suffering. I think we're just as quick to pick up those intercessionary prayers as those in other groups, in other areas of the religious spectrum. So I don't think that we've abandoned that God entirely. I think we've transcended and included that God in what I hope to be healthy ways. The second part of your question about the church services and the intercession segment, what meaning does that have in context of progressive thinking? The meaning that those intercessionary prayers are going to have for you as an individual are going to be dependent on, are going to be based on your relationship with God. I always go back to Martin Buber's I and Thou, right? Written in the 20s, Buber argued that the I takes on a qualitatively different form when you are addressing, when you are appealing, when you are communicating to Spirit, to Thou, to the ultimate other. And I believe that to be true. I believe that those intercessionary prayers are just as important as the prayers of praise, the prayers of worship, the prayers of devotion, the prayers of thanksgiving. All of those prayers are important. I think that it's important to have the entire toolbox at your disposal, not just the hammer, not just the screwdriver. And I also believe that that relational dimension of God or Spirit is something that you can't put down. You can focus on the God within. You can focus on the I am through meditation, through contemplative prayer, and you can focus on the God that is it, right? That is all things everywhere, that is the cosmos, that is life becoming aware of itself through its own unfolding and all of that. But you cannot so you can focus on the I and you can focus on the it, but you've got to keep focusing on the we that is that relational experience with God or with the divine or with spirit. And that means asking, or at least talking to God or spirit as an other. So I don't think it should be abandoned. I think it's woven into the fabric of the experience we have with God in every moment, in every day. Now, do the religious institutions need to change the way they approach it? Sure, absolutely. And hopefully those of us who are in religious institutions can begin to make those changes, small changes from within, and see the changes that we like to see made in those communities for the betterment of the community and for the betterment of the institution and for the future and the scalability of that institution. See those changes made for the sake of its future. But do we need to abandon some of these things that are long held just because some of the community describes them in different language? No, I don't think so. I think that we need to keep them and turn them over in our hands until they're smooth stones and we have a deeper understanding of them and we can integrate them in a different way. Those are my responses, John. I really thank you for your questions today, and it's been an honor and a privilege to be here on behalf of Progressing Spirit. Again, my name is Joran Oppelt, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Thanks for watching.